This is a Nissan 350Z that I picked up at auction a little while back. I obviously need to replace the airbags, so that's what I'm working on today. We are going to have to remove the dash in order to replace the airbags, but in order to get to this part of the dash, we have to remove this part of the dash. So in looking at this, we have a couple of bolts, one which I've already removed. The one bolt was right there, and then there are two other bolts that need to be removed. They're behind this panel, which I've already popped loose. Really easy to pop loose. You just have to pop away this the door trim, and then once you've done that, there is one plastic bolt that holds that little space on back there. Now once you've gotten that bolt off, you can just pry and it'll pop loose. And the way it pops loose, you'll see it has two clips, one there and one there. So you just have to pop those two loose. Those fit here and here. All right, and then behind that there are these two bolts. Well, a bolt and a screw. Okay, so I've popped a couple of these clips loose. You'll see those there. 1, 2, 3. There's another one over here, there, and there's one back there. Okay, so if you'll see what I'm going to do, here's the piece, right? So removing both of those screws over here was necessary because one of them attaches this to this, and that's this screw here, and then the bolt attaches it all to this mount. So, but pulling this back, you'll see there's a screw right there. I'm going to remove that screw, and that's going to pull off that, well, this guy, this piece of covering. And that's going to give me a little more access and hopefully allow me to see what is holding itself to that right now. I'm kind of stumped, but I'm going to figure it out. And when I do, you guys will be the first to know. It is free. Now, I did it the wrong way. Nothing broke, but I can show you what I did. This guy, the cup holder, is held in, oh, well, hopefully I didn't break that. Anyway, so this cup holder is held in and attached to the lower part with two screws. There's one here and there's one right here. Now, those were pretty darn close to impossible to reach, and I ended up using both a regular screwdriver and a short screwdriver, a nubby guy, to get these two out of there. And I did quite a bit of torquing and bending on this guy. Now, after I removed it, I realized what is holding this guy on, because this is what was holding me up. What it is, let's see if we can see this. There is a bolt. Oh, you can see it right there. Sort of. It's this. That bolt is holding all this on. Now, if you could get to that bolt, then you would be able to pull this off without any issue. The problem is that bolt is pointing, well, the head is pointing down. So while that cover is on, there's no way to get to it, or so I thought. Now, here's what you do. You open this guy, and then you come at it from below. You can see it. I just need to move that, and I have access to it. So that bolt needs to be removed. Once I remove that, I'm going to put this back together the way it's supposed to go, and hopefully I didn't break this spring mechanism, because it doesn't want to stay in. But we'll see how that goes, and we'll continue from there. Cup holder is not broken, so I'm happy about that. Okay, now back to this. What I need to do at this point is remove this plate And that's pretty simple. Obviously, there's just 2 bolts there. And then, after I move that plate, underneath here, you can see that gold bolt that holds the airbag in. So, after I move those 2 bolts and this bolt, I should just be able to pull up on this guy and it'll pop right out. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but we're going to try it and we'll go from there. Okay, so the plate is removed and the bolt is removed, and as you can see, it's moving pretty freely. So I think I'm just going to be able to pop this guy right off. At that point, I also have this. This is the plug for the actual airbag. So I need to remove that plug, separate it, and there's a little clip on the bottom here. Let's see if I can show that to you. So that clip I need to deal with, and that piece will pop right off. So I'm gonna pull this guy out. Yeah, it pretty much just comes right out. So next time you see it, it will be gone. Okay, it is out. That was super easy. When pulling it out, it did pop this guy loose, which is not a big deal. It just has a couple of clips on the back, and that just pops right back in. But instead of just putting it back in, I was looking at this, and actually not only am I replacing the airbag, I am also replacing the little unit that it's like the airbag brain thing. And looking at this, this is the cable for the airbag, and this is the harness for it. Now there is a chunk of wire going that direction, and I'm guessing that goes toward the airbag in the driver's side. And then there's also an additional cable that runs over here and plugs into something back there, which I don't believe is the unit. It is not the unit that I need to be replacing. And then there's a third wire, and this third wire is right here, and that goes back behind this. So because this is the first time I've done this and we are learning together, it turns out that I'm probably going to need to take that screw out again and pull off this piece. Now this piece, it's not just this little guy right there, it goes all the way back to the center console. So I am going to pull out the center console. Now the way to do that is by first we have to reach in here. Oh, I guess I should show that to you again. Alright, so you grab this and just pull up. Comes off pretty easy. And behind this there is a cable right there. You disconnect that cable and this whole chunk comes off. At that point I will pop this open, and there are some screws underneath this mat, I believe is how it works. I'll need to verify that. It might not be required, but I do need to remove this screw and that screw in order to get this piece off for sure. Okay, so it was actually just those 2 screws that I had to remove that were down here, and that whole piece just popped right off. I didn't have to worry about anything that was underneath this little deal there. There was nothing connected. Now I followed this wire, and it actually runs down through here. Sorry for the shaky shot. And all the way back behind this space. So I am going to have to remove the center console. There's looks like a couple of screws here, and then I'm going to try pulling on it and see what happens, and we'll go from there. Okay, so there's no way it could have been just 2 screws. Why would it be? That would be too simple. So what I had to do is actually open this little piece up and pull that out. There was a screw right there. Pulled that one out. Still not loose. There are actually screws. It's kind of hard to see. There's a little opening right there on the side. There's a screw there, and there's one on the opposite side as well. Okay, so it was just those 3 screws. It was pretty simple. It's just off enough so that I have access to that box. That box is the brain for the airbags. So I'm going to pull that off and put the new one that I have in so that everything will work properly. Cool. Okay, so this is the new airbag and assembly with the front cover. And the way this sits, it actually sits like this on the dash. So this is going to be on your left side, and I've got this little hook deal on the other end that needs to fit in with the rest of it. Now, on this side, you'll notice bracket, bracket, bracket. So these just clip right into the top, right there, there, and there. So it really just falls in. So I drop it in. I make sure that this is connected. I'll do that from underneath though. Then I'll put this bolt back in, and this will be installed actually with the screws that I need to put back in as well. And this will all come back together pretty quick, and we'll have a pretty looking car instead of a pretty ugly looking car. Okay, so that's fully repaired. It's all installed. Everything looks the way it's supposed to. It's really not that hard. It took me a couple hours, but I was figuring out as I went.